All right, everybody. We are back at it. We have a special guest today, a super guest, as I like to call all of them, except for this one really is super. I'm extremely excited. It's my first comedian on the new iteration of the podcast, and we got none other than local, soon to be worldwide legend. I know it. We got Jeremy Peterson, also known as the Doctor. So let's give him a round of applause. All right, how are you, man?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, so when you contacted me, I saw that you had just done the "Trust Me, I'm a Doctor" thing at the Bourbon and I did not make it to that show, which I wish I had, but but it definitely piqued my interest. I had seen it on the marquee and all this stuff, so I was like, man, I was super pumped when you got a hold of me. So I was like, here we are now. You're this is a new iteration of my podcast. I usually do like spooky ghost goblins and all that stuff, and I mix because I do paranormal investigation and
Okay.
all that stuff. So but I need to kind of break the monotony of all that darkness and kind of
Do
laugh.
something fun, right?
Yeah,
What's more fun than having a smart ass comedian on, right?
exactly, man. Exactly. I don't want to be the radio slash podcast guy who thinks they're funny or something. So I apologize if I say something that's completely stupid, but that's kind of my general demeanor anyway.
All good, man. All good.
So let's talk about the doctor thing, man. Doc Peterson. Why do they call you a doctor? I read that you're a chiropractor. I are chiropractors real doctors? I mean, what do you guys do? I mean, you guys crack people's backs and necks and do all that good stuff, right?
Yes, we do all that good stuff. We are really are doctors. I went to school for almost 8 years.
Yeah.
I have a bachelor's in human biology. I have a doctoral degree in chiropractic. Took me about 7.5 years to get all that, and I am licensed as a chiropractor,
Yeah.
as a physician, as a doctor. So yes, we are doctors, and yes, they really do call me doc.
I really do apologize for not knowing that they're doctors. Like I talked to you in the pre-interview, I'm kind of an idiot when it comes to that stuff. I had no idea. So I don't mean to insult. I just yeah.
All good.
In other words, when you have that doctor part in front of you, it's I'm a bit smarter than the rest of you. You know what I mean? Like, let's just say, like I said before, they should probably hand out like a championship belt of some sort to all you guys that go through it. Don't you think?
I mean, I did go to school for that many years, and it we had to go through a series of national boards, and
Yeah.
it's intense, but we made it through, and here I am on the other side 20 years later. I've been a chiropractor for almost 20 years now.
You guys are like the likable doctors, well, on the most part. I mean, you guys kind of punish people and stuff, and kind of get all those. I know I could use a chiropractor for all the stuff that I have going on, and I mean, but you guys kind of like you guys have that. I feel like fun part, like when I pop my knuckles and stuff like that, I get like a certain joy out of it. So I can only imagine. Are
Oh,
you guys are you
absolutely.
are you guys kind of like sadists or what?
I think there has to be a little bit of sadomasochism going on because I do really love my job,
Yeah,
and I get to inflict a little bit of pain knowing that I'm going to make somebody feel better at the end of the appointment. So
yeah.
yeah, I guess I am kind of jacked up that way. I mean, I don't have any like rubber dog masks in my basement or anything like that, but yeah, there's definitely some S&M side to me that gets off in the office, I guess.
There's always time to add the mask later on, or maybe you wear the mask in other forms. As long as you're not a serial killer, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. I don't have to
Exactly.
look in any orifices. I don't have to stick my finger in any orifices.
Yeah.
Like when you come to me, you know that when you leave, for the most part, you're going to be feeling better. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you're never going to get the
Yeah.
from a chiropractor. That's just not happening.
Oh man. Well, and doctors do have a tough deal. I mean, I can only imagine the gross stuff they look at, especially like when I go to my doctor and I think of all the stuff he looks at with me, and he's handling my urine and all this other stuff. I can only imagine all the horrible, disgusting things they see every day.
My oldest brother is a PA.
Oh
And
no.
so anything that I don't want to deal with, I just call him and see what his hours are and send him over to
Yeah.
him.
Exactly. And they get the worst of the worst because they're around more than the actual doctor is, so
Oh,
they're
yeah.
getting like the funguses and the toenails that are so long and hard that they're digging into their leg, all that stuff. Oh,
Pussy drainage and
yeah.
snot and stuff that I don't have to touch and deal with, which is awesome.
Yeah. No, that's great, man. But let's talk about that's enough in a show right there. But let's talk about why you're here. I mean, so you're a comedian. You're a, I apologize for calling you a local comedian only because I know you from locally. That doesn't mean that you're not regional, national, or whatever. But we're lucky enough to have you here in our area. So, I mean, tell me about the comedy scene here in Lincoln.
The comedy scene is interesting in Lincoln. There are a large number of people who have been doing the same things for a number of years, and they do the same shows at the same bars, and they attract the same crowd. And honestly, if you're in that scene,
Yeah.
you are well received within that scene. They love you. It's very clicky. Um, but as soon as you go against that scene, as in you do something different than what they're doing,
Right.
then you are the outsider. And I became the outsider from year one.
Yeah.
I wasn't interested in going to every single dive bar 5 nights a week and doing an open mic where, for those who don't know, open mic nights are nights where comedians get to go practice. They
Right.
get 5 6 minutes. They usually go do new material. So the comedy itself, let's be honest, sucks. It's usually
Right.
not very good. And a lot of times it's the same 7, 10, 15 people that show up at these places. And then you hear the same 7 or 10 jokes over and over and over. That just wasn't for me. That wasn't something that I had interest. I have a real life outside of comedy with running an office. I have 3 kids that I'm busy with. So that scene wasn't for me. And I got away from it very, very quickly, which made me kind of an outcast in Lincoln.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, is it pretty clicky like all comedy scenes are? Because it seems like, especially on the national scale, it's like so ridiculous how clicky it is. Like you hear them complaining about it all the time.
You do. There are a lot of clicks, and I've personally hired over 100 comedians over the last 3 years to work on my shows, whether they're headliners, openers, hosts, because I don't headline every single show that I book. I
Yeah.
may host one, I may feature, I may be the opener, I may headline. So I've hired over 100 comedians from all over the country, literally from coast to coast, and from the Gulf of Mexico to North Dakota.
Right.
Um, and they all talk about the clicks that they have. But when you start dealing with comics that are now on a level where they're traveling, they're away from the click.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so we all get along very, very well because I can call somebody from Chicago and go, here's what I'm offering you for a 30-minute set with a hotel and several $100s to come in and do this show. And you're going to be in front of 150 people or more. Whereas the local scenes are all like, you might get $10 and a greasy cheeseburger, and there might be 10 people in the seats. And so
Right.
I think that's where the clickiness comes from too, because they're mad about that. They're jealous that they're not on that next level, and they've been doing it way longer than some of
Right.
us have been doing it.
Well, I know not too long ago, and I apologize for not remembering their name, but there was a local kind of like a guy who's been doing comedy forever who died, I believe, of cancer. And I
Yeah,
saw I saw this douche comic from I think it was Council Bluffs, and he was talking crap, about the guy after he died. And I thought this is such a bush league thing I've ever seen. Like, give the guy a little respect. He died of cancer. Like, do you know about the deal? I mean, I don't want to like get the guy pissed and coming at me, so I won't mention his name because I don't think it's worth the time. But
sure.
yeah,
I think it goes way back. They had a relationship where they didn't get along in comedy for whatever reason,
right,
and so he did make some remarks, and some people called him on it, and
yeah,
it is what it is. From a business standpoint, I never did business with the guy
right,
um, before he passed away, and I think the venue that he was doing it at had seen its time.
right,
And there's a comic here in Lincoln that's really trying to revive that comedy scene in that particular bar, but he doesn't have anywhere near the connections that this guy did. It was Brad Stewart that passed
yeah,
away,
yeah, yeah,
um, and none of us have the connections that Brad Stewart had, and that's why he was able to pull regional and even national touring comedians in, because he had that connection um, and that background. And I never connected with him, but he was pretty sick by the time I came onto the scene, so there
yeah.
was no chance to develop that either.
It was sad, man. To me, it was just a tale of how people get jealous of other people. Maybe they have a
Yeah,
beef with them over what, who knows what went awry. I mean, I'm a musician. I've been a local musician for many years. So I know how cutthroat it all is in entertainment, but I always look at it as a buffet for everybody. Like we can all kind of make money and enjoy it, but maybe that's me being too kumbaya or whatever. But I really think we don't have to cut each other, especially in a local scene. But I don't know. I mean, maybe it's different for comedy.
It's so I play guitars. They're all hanging on my basement wall over here.
Right on.
And I've been in and out of the music scene. I know a lot of really famous world traveling musicians and what have you. And as a chiropractor, I've adjusted them.
Yeah.
So guys that sell out Pinnacle Bank Arena, I'm backstage hanging out with them and getting to adjust them, which is a really awesome part of my job. But from that cutthroat part of it, again, it's the haves and the have-nots. This is the people that have been doing it forever, and that's
Right.
all they're going to do is these small, tiny little local shows that never get more than 20 or 30 people. And then there's the people that want to go to that next level. They want to perform in front of 100, 200, 500 and up.
Yeah.
So it's not about necessarily cutting anybody off, but there are definitely people that in Lincoln and Omaha that can't stand in front of 400 or 500 people and deliver. And
Right.
so it's that haves and haves not scenario more than it is a cutthroat, cutting everybody down kind of thing.
Well, it takes a different type of person for comedy. Like I've been a lead singer for most of the time, and I never wanted to be, but because like and social anxiety wise, like I hate to be that guy, but it was like, man, I would rather turn off by osmosis, like disappear when I'm in a crowd. But when I would get on stage, I would kind of like my mind would transcend into a different, and I would turn into an entertainer. So I can only imagine because you guys not only have to be entertained, but you have to be funny. Like all of us think we're comedians once we get a mic in front of us as lead sync, which is so stupid. But you guys actually have to be funny. It's the whole job. So I mean, what's that like for you when you're up there in front of everyone?
So a lot of times now when I'm in the office, people want me to be funny.
Yeah,
And I can't do the same kind of comedy that I do on stage on Friday night in front of a packed bar
right.
in the office. I have to be a different persona. So, I think I wear multiple hats. When I'm at the office, I'm the I'm probably I think I'm one of the cooler doctors, but I get to deal with my patients and help them and connect with them in that way. And I might interject some humor here and there, but for the most part, I'm the guy that they came to fix whatever ailment they called me for.
Yeah,
And then I'll leave that office at 5:30, 6 o'clock at night and drive to a show. And in that 40 minutes, half hour, whatever it is, you got to become a new person. Because when you walk in the door at that venue, they want somebody that's smiling. They want somebody that's laughing. They want somebody that's shaking hands, kissing the babies, slapping asses,
right,
doing whatever it is you do. And then you got to get up on stage and take it from that personality to here. I mean, you got to be the guy that makes everyone in the room laugh.
right.
And it's a switch, and some people do it easier than others. I think I've always been a person that doesn't mind being in front of the crowd, so that part doesn't bother me. Crowds, whether I'm in front of 50 people or 500 people, so far really haven't been a bother to me. And
Right.
when you know how it is being on stage as a lead singer with all those lights in your eyes, you only see the first 22 people anyway.
Exactly.
So that's what I focus on. I focus on what I hear in the back as far as laughter and feedback. And I focus on those first two rows of people that I can actually see and connect with.
I know the trick was always, like in the shows and in the movies is, oh, pretend that the people in front are, in their underwear, they're naked. But you don't want to
As a
pretend
comedian, I
most of
could
them are.
not do that because I would
Yeah.
rip them apart.
Yeah, exactly. They're
Look at
not as
you.
hot as the people on TV, right?
Oh, hell no.
So what my trick was always look past them, like look just over their heads to where it makes it look like I'm looking at them. But I mean, I'm just an awkward person in general. So I mean, I don't know why, you're probably a lightning rod like me. Like when I go to places, I go to Walmart or something, I always get people, they always want to talk to me and they want to tell me their whole life story. And I'm like, man, like I get the weirdest people, like a person with one arm that wants to hold my newborn baby or something, like the weirdest stuff. What do you like? What's Walmart like for you? Walmart's a comical place in general.
So if I now as a physician, I'd always run into patients. And
Yeah,
and that's usually one of those where they kind of want to make eye contact with you. They kind of want to wave, but they know that you're just the human that's there buying toilet paper and whatever else you got to buy too.
right.
Um, when you're an entertainer and they recognize you from that aspect, it feels different. Like they want to come up, they want to talk to you, they want to know when your next show is, they want to know, they want to shake your hand, they want to interact with you and have that special moment. So there's really not an off time.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I get that all the time. It's not like I walk into Walmart and people go, "Woo, it's
Trust
Doc."
me,
No,
not me.
it's
No, not me either. Like knowing who I am, they just come to me for whatever reason. It's just like I'm a magnet of the strangest of the strange. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just like I must put out that vibe, I guess. like this guy's down to clown, you know, like, and I don't get it. But I just wonder what it's like. I mean, I just think it's so cool to be a comedian. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a comedian because I was a class clown, you know, and all that. But I never had the gumption to do what you guys do. Like, I don't know what it's like to put together a set, you know, and I
so
don't want to be a comedian now. You know, I'd like to say that I think I'm funny, but I'm probably just a jackass, you know, like that's most of us, right?
there's nothing wrong with being a
Yeah.
jackass. I never grew up saying, "Hey, I'm going to be a comedian."
Yeah.
If you would have asked me, I probably would have told you I was going to be a guitar player. And the problem
Right.
with that is that I suck. So, that doesn't really translate to being on stage a lot.
Yeah.
It's just something that I loved and had a passion for, and I've got beautiful guitars hanging on my wall now as art. So I
Absolutely.
still play it every now and then, but I didn't grow up saying, "Hey, I want to be a comedian. I want to be an entertainer. I want to be the single guy on stage with a microphone making people laugh."
Right.
I fell into that.
Yeah.
That just happened.
Yeah. That's how it works, right? It just kind of happens. I mean, I liked music. I was big into grunge and everything, but I didn't sit there and say to myself like, man, I'm going to be in a band like Nirvana right away. I picked up a guitar and I tried and I sucked at it too, like most of us do. But you know, it's funny how you just kind of fall into all of it. And then with a little luck, you know, good things happen and big things happen. You know, I feel lucky to have a guy like you on my show. I mean, you know, this is a new iteration of the show. I don't necessarily have a massive Joe Rogan following or anything, obviously, nor will I probably ever, but it's still cool. You know, I feel like locally we need more good podcasts, you know, like that talk about our local talent and talk about this and that. So I thought, what the heck? I like to talk. I get to get the gab, so why not blab on about something? So, you
Right.
know, thank you so much for being on, man.
No, I appreciate it. I like doing these interviews. I think this is probably the fifth or sixth one I've done in the last couple of months. And
Right on.
it's funny talking to podcast guys, hosts from New York City,
Yeah,
and then seeing them interact on my Facebook page with posts that I'm sharing about shows and things. Or,
yeah,
it's kind of fun to see and connect to that many more people across whatever platform.
exactly. So you play a little bit, or you at least have guitars and you play them. What's your preference on guitars? Like I'm a Fender guy. What do you like?
So my baby is my Les Paul.
Hmm.
Um, I grew up listening to Slash and thinking that I was going to be Slash someday, but that didn't work out.
Yeah.
So that's my baby. I have a couple of other solid body guitars too. Like I have a Washburn that looks a lot like a Les Paul and um, those kind of things. And I have a really nice acoustic that I sat down in the humidor one day and had a little money to burn, and I just said, just bring me guitars under this price. I said,
Right.
I don't really want to see the headstock, although I can tell what it is when you hand it to me, but I
Yeah.
don't want to see the price tag. I don't want to see this. I want to play it, love it, and take it home.
Right.
And I ended up with an acoustic that was only like 300 bucks or something, but it was the one that sang to me
Yeah.
and resonated. So that was kind of a fun thing to do when I picked out that guitar.
Well, you know,
And that's just a
acoustic.
Yamaha.
Oh, see, Yamahas can be really good. The thing about acoustic guitars, and I have some cheap ones, and I mean I've played some more expensive ones. It's all about the sound preference. Like me, nails on a chalkboard is like the high, brighter sounds, especially through an amp. I like a bassy sounding guitar, so um, you know, it's all about preference. But I mean, you know, Taylors are great. I would love to have I'd love to have a $6,000 acoustic guitar. It's probably not going to happen, but
Right.
hey, a boy can dream, right? I guess if I hit the lottery, I'll buy them for everybody.
I just had a memory pop up on my Facebook earlier today where I was in one of the guitar places here in Lincoln and I was playing a bright blue semi hollow body Gretsch.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember playing that thing. I played every Leonard Skinner song I could remember,
Yep.
plugged in until my wife came in and she's like, "It's time to go. Let's go."
Yep. That's usually the final decider, right? The final countdown is when the old lady pops in and says, "All right, you're through."
It's
Yep.
time.
It used to be, when Best Buy was cool for a short time, they had all those instruments. And I used to go there and I would play for hours. Like I would go talk to musicians, play all the expensive guitars I couldn't afford. But it was just like I always wondered, like, I know Best Buy's loaded, but I mean, do they really have it like that? That everywhere has thousands and thousands of dollars just sitting there all the
Yep.
time? But obviously it didn't work, right? I mean, they don't have it
No,
anymore. Yeah.
no.
Did you ever do that? Did you ever go to Best Buy and just play around with like some of the most expensive ones?
Well, and I'm older than you, so I would go to like Dietz Music,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
and I'd point up at the top of the wall and go, "That's the one I want to play, and I want to play it on
Yeah.
that amp." And
Yep.
and they're like, "Year 17, go screw yourself. Like, get out of here. You don't have anywhere near the money." But they'd get it down for me and let me
Yeah.
play around on it, and then it was like, "All right, you're done too."
Well, they never know. Maybe they didn't know that maybe you'd become a doctor eventually, and then you could come back and be like, "Ha! Now
This is
look
the
at
one
me."
I'm buying. That's
That's
right.
right. Yeah. I always wanted to go in like a mink coat or something, look important, like maybe look like James Brown. And then they can't tell me no if I want to play the, $8,000 guitar.
I'm looking at the 1959 Les Paul Gold Top.
Yeah. The thing I love Les Pauls, but they're so heavy. Like I used to play in cover bands too. When you play 50, sometimes 60 songs a night, if you're lugging that thing around, like you're hunched over like Igor, like you're having a rough night by the end of it.
I just took care of a guy in the office and he threw his back out and he plays a Les Paul, just
Yeah.
a skinny guy. And he's like, "Yeah, it's jacking up my back." And I went, "Yeah, you and drummers and everybody else."
Yeah. It's the Les Paul club when it comes to bad backs, it
Yeah,
happens all. I play strats. I don't know what it is. I like the settings. I know how to maneuver them with pedals and all that. And everybody has their own thing. I'll even play cheap Squires and all that stuff. I don't care.
sure.
Just really, I just started loving Fenders and how they sounded. So that's kind of my deal on that. So, comedy wise, I mean, where do people go to see comedy here in Lincoln now? I mean, like, what clubs, what bars have it the most? Anyone? Oh no, I think
uh,
I heard it.
yeah, you hear the first time that I'm going to put my foot in my mouth and be a jackass. So there's a couple of bars that do comedy.
Yeah,
The people that do comedy at those bars, Doc Peterson does not and will not hire because they can't sell tickets, they don't draw a crowd, and quite frankly, I don't find them funny.
yeah,
And those are my criteria when I book a show or produce a show. You have to be funny to me. Now,
yeah, for sure.
I'm hard on comics again because I didn't grow up wanting to be a comic. So I think of myself as the person who is the every person.
Right,
I'm the regular Joe who's buying a ticket to come in and see a comedy show. And if you can't make me laugh, then I don't care that your little tiny sect of people laugh at your jokes
right.
because I want you to appeal to the masses. And again, that's kind of where the Lincoln crowd and I differ from because a lot of them are very much into the art of it. And I get it.
Yeah,
Good for them. But I want you, if you're going to be on my show, to appeal to everybody. So as far as venues go, there aren't any that really produce top end shows on a regular basis.
yeah,
I produce some shows in Lincoln, but they're one offs.
right.
Those one off shows, however, on average here in Lincoln, we're seating over 200 people,
Yeah,
selling 200 tickets. So again, it's a different category. It's a different world.
right.
Um, I know like Duffy's tries to do some open mic stuff. The Storm Cellar tries to do some open mic stuff. Just recently, I guess the Grata has a couple of local comedians that are really trying hard to get some traction going. They're using every they're using everything that I taught one of them how to
Yeah.
do to run the shows. So I hope they find success in it because they're using my exact formula for it.
Right.
But right now it hasn't caught on yet. Other than that, there's not a regular place to see comedy in Lincoln on a regular basis.
Didn't there
Uh,
wasn't there a club years ago underneath Subway downtown? Was there not a comedy club there? Or did I have a dream one time? I swear that me and my friends went there and we heard comedy and we went like down the stairs and we were kind of like hiding by the door until the doorman chased us off. Was there one? Like a funny bone here
there
in
could have
Lincoln
been,
type
but that would have
deal?
been way before I was ever in the scene. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
didn't.
it's hard to say. I would love to. I'll have to figure that out sometime. I swear there was something like that years ago. But it's sad that they don't have more comedy here because we have a great scene of a lot of different things here. But we need more comedy. We need a place to go laugh, other than watching, some jackass doing karaoke, spitting off his only two jokes that he has. We need something
Right.
else.
Right.
So
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
So how about, I mean, did you do open mics or did you like what are open mics like for comedians? I know what they're like for musicians.
So how I got my start in comedy was a buddy of mine was hosting an open mic.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even know he was into comedy. Like he was my friend for like 10 years and we never really talked about it. And
Yeah,
then one day out of the blue, he springs this on me and tells me that he's hosting open mics.
right.
And so my wife and I started going once a week where they were doing the show. It's a blue collar bar. I love the bar. I'm not talking trash about the bar,
Right.
but those people that showed up on Thursday night at 7 o'clock had just worked 10, 12 hours outside in the heat on a roof, whatever.
Yeah.
They were there for a cold beer, a greasy cheeseburger, and to watch 10 minutes of whatever was on TV that's mindless entertainment.
Right.
And they did not enjoy the comedy,
Yeah.
not even a little bit.
Not even
So
a little.
it was the comedy was bad. Like I said, the open mic scene usually isn't good comedy anyway, but the comedy was horrible and the scene made it even worse. I mean, people would literally walk up to the TV with the remote and turn up the volume while the comedians are up there
Oh
just because
no.
they didn't want it.
Yeah.
So my wife tells me, she's like, I want to appreciate and support your buddy, but I can't do this anymore. This sucks.
Yeah.
And I said, well, next week they're doing an open mic at a different bar. It's going to be a totally different vibe. How about I practice 5 minutes and I get up and I go on stage? And she's like, perfect. If you suck, I'm never going to another one of these stupid things again. And that night it was held at Rumology, tiny little rum bar on the south side of town.
Yeah.
Cool little stage, totally different atmosphere. People are there to chill out, relax, be quiet, have a drink. So comedy is really conducive to that atmosphere there. I did 5 minutes and it went really, really overly surprisingly well for me. When I got off stage, the owner, Jay Donaldson, came up to me and he says, we have a comedy competition here at this bar in 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a comic drop out. Do you want the spot? And I'm like, I'm living on cloud nine. I just got off stage for the first time. People actually laughed. They
Yeah.
enjoyed it. I'm higher than you know what. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. Then he drops the bomb on me and tells me that I need 10 minutes instead of 5.
Right.
Okay. So I had a little notepad that I made some outlines on and to and from work 4 times a day. I would practice in that 10 minutes that I had. So I had 10 minutes ready to go. And what they didn't tell me was at the end of the night, they were going to take the top 3 comedians and make them do a 5-minute encore
Oh
and
wow.
to decide who won the competition. They tell me that, and I have 10 minutes to read through whatever outline shit I didn't go through already
Yeah.
and get ready to go out and do an encore. Well, luckily for me, the first comedian that they brought up had gone out to the parking lot, got stoned out of his gourd. He could barely remember his name. He barely remembered to hold the microphone up to his mouth. And he just stood there like Beavis and Butthead for like 4.5 minutes, just, uh,
Yeah.
uh, uh, we're like, so they boo him off stage. I go up, I do my set. It went reasonably well considering things.
Yeah.
And then the last guy that went up is part of that local comedy scene here in Lincoln. He's been doing it for 10 or 15 years. and he had an okay set, but he ended it with an impersonation of the of the guy from Full Metal Jacket, the private fat body guy who puts his gun in
Oh
his
yeah,
mouth and blows
yeah,
his head off in
Leonard or
the big
whatever.
scene.
Yeah,
Yeah. So he does an impersonation of him and it killed. It was probably one of the top 10 impersonations I've ever seen in my life. So he wins. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, no skin off my ass. That was my second and third time ever on stage.
yeah.
I'm good. I'm
So
feeling
you're
good.
winning anyways. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I got off stage, though, there was a local small time producer, promoter in the audience, and he offered me a job. He offered me my first job a month later.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that proves to me there's just no such thing as coincidences either. Like it's you really do make your own luck. Like you just happen to, your first time, even if people weren't that it, you killed it enough, and then somebody saw it, and then it just keeps kind of spiraling from there. That's awesome.
I've definitely had some good luck.
Yeah.
I can't say that I have.
Right. No, that's great, man. I just wish that we could all I hope that you're building a scene here, because it seems like we're having a comedy boom, so to speak. Like I listen to a unrealistic amount of comedy podcasts. And
Sure.
so I mean, it's crazy how the podcast world for them has really made it to where you can get to know them without just having to hear their comedy. And then it can bring it, like Fully Loaded tour, for example, was a
Yeah.
prime example. Like I knew a Burt Kreischer because I liked him before. I knew Tom Segura wasn't on that, but those are like my guys.
Yeah.
Um, and all of that came from the Rogan camp. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
went through there, then they all of a sudden had their podcast, and it just became this big circle jerk for all of them. But it's so brilliant, isn't it?
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah,
It is absolutely fantastic to see. And Bert is another good example of someone he put in his time. I'm
yeah,
not taking anything away from his early years and how hard he worked and the struggles and things like that. But he isn't living the same comedy life that the generations before him did, with the struggles and the road and all. He went out and said, you know what, I'm gonna invest in me. I'm gonna promote me,
yeah.
and we're gonna go through the moon with it. And he did. And so I give him all the credit in the damn world because
Did
he
you
has
guys
no
go to that
shame.
show at all? Where did
So
you
I
go?
didn't go to the one in Lincoln. I went to the special that he produced at the Orpheum in Omaha,
Yeah,
and I enjoyed it. I'm disappointed in the Orpheum. I'll be dead serious with you.
yeah.
Whoever they did for lighting and sound should never ever work in lighting and sound ever again in the
They did
history of
them
their
wrong,
life.
huh? Yeah,
They just we had they did what, 5 shows, so I'm in the queue for over 4 hours going buy tickets, buy tickets, buy tickets,
yeah.
and when I finally got my tickets, I'm in the back row. I'm like 3 from the back in the Orpheum,
Hmm.
and the sound was shit. It
Yeah,
sucked. Yeah, if I had a conversation with Bert, first of all, after I got done being a fanboy and peeing down my leg a little bit, I'd be like,
yeah,
you should have sat in that top row and had somebody talking to the microphone so you could hear how bad it was,
yeah.
because it sucked.
Man, that's wild. I can honestly say I've never left, and I've been to a lot of great concerts and everything. I've never left so happy from an event in my life than when my wife and we got good tickets to Fully Loaded, because that's our comedian, the guy who we really
Yeah,
like. And
yeah,
we went, and it was all the comedians killed it. It was an amazing show. It was just like the sound was good. It was an event, man. Like, I mean, I just kudos to them for the event that they put on, because I will always remember that. That's up there with like my favorite band is Smashing Pumpkins. That's right up there with me seeing Billy Corgan ripping up there on guitar all night. I mean, that's
sure.
how good of a show it was. I get goosebumps just thinking about it because it makes me so happy. And that's what comedy does for people, man.
That's what it should do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So they definitely did a great thing with that. Tom Segura's been killing it. All these
Yeah,
guys. I mean, obviously, Joe Rogan is seen more as a funny podcaster, but he's a legit, talent. I mean, he opened up, I think it's the Mothership Club or whatever down in
yeah,
Austin. Sounds pretty cool, man. Sounds
yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, and as a comedian, I don't necessarily love him as much. As a
Yeah.
host and as a personality and things like that, I think he has really, really funny clips.
Hmm.
Um, but I think all of the stuff that he brings on stage is also what makes him a hell of an interviewer and able to improv and talk and do those things to any guest, no matter what they're talking about.
He's obviously intelligent. I mean, he just the amount of weed that he smokes and the fact that he can retain all that information. He should be like in the Smithsonian for like a science experiment of weed doesn't kill all your brain cells. You know,
Not all of them. Some of us
not
are
all of them.
doctors.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey there, fellow follicle enthusiasts. We have a sponsor that's about to make your beards go wild with delight. Brace yourselves for the one and only, the elegant Sasquatch. Are you ready to unleash your outer beast?
Cain, I've been waiting for this moment my entire bearded life. But tell me, how can the elegant Sasquatch help us awaken our inner beasts?
Oh, my hairy companion, the elegant Sasquatch has a treasure trove of beard products that will have your whiskers partying like it's the wildest night in the forest. From their aromatic beard oils to their beastly balms and buttery concoctions, they've got everything you need to make your beard sing with joy.
I can almost hear my beard belting out its own rendition of I Will Survive.
Your beard is in for a treat, my friend, and here's the best part. Every single product is handmade with love. Picture this, a team of Sasquatch artisans rocking their aprons and wielding their grooming tools, crafting beard goodies that will blow your mind. It's like a hairy fiesta of craftsmanship.
I could see those Sasquatch artists dancing with their combs and trimmers like they're on a hairy stage.
Absolutely. These bearded maestros pour their heart and soul into every bottle of beard oil, every tin of balm, and every tub of butter. They're like the Michelin-starred chefs of the beard world, creating culinary delights for your facial hair.
My beard is salivating in anticipation.
Well, get ready for your beard to do a happy dance because the elegant Sasquatch has you covered from all angles. Their beard oils will make your whiskers as smooth as a buttery glide. Their balms will sculpt your beard into a masterpiece that would make Da Vinci jealous. Their butters will leave your beard softer than a cloud made of marshmallows, and their washes will cleanse your beard with a scent that's fresher than the waterfalls in the Rockies.
My beard is ready for the bearded revolution.
You can find the Elegant Sasquatch on Instagram and Facebook. They're ready to share their hairy wisdom, showcase their bearded customers, and entertain you with memes that will make your mustache curl with laughter.
I can't wait to join the hairy community and bask in the glory of their bearded memes.
So, folks, get ready to let your beards run wild. Unleash your outer beast and head over to Facebook and Instagram to find the Elegant Sasquatch. Trust me, your beard will thank you, and you'll be the envy of every bearded creature in the virtual forest.
Here's to smelling like a wild creature and embracing your inner Sasquatch.
Cheers to that, my fellow bearded brethren, and stay elegant with the Elegant Sasquatch.
All right, so we've been talking about all the comedy scene and all this stuff, but I mean, you talked about music a little bit. What kind of music are you into, man?
My playlist is the most psychotic playlist you will ever hear in your life because I've got daughters who listen to everything from Taylor Swift to whatever weird shit's going on in the music scene out there to even though I was born in 79, like the 80s rock was definitely something that I gravitated towards. So anything from the hair bands is kind of where I'm at. When I play music, I like to play like Metallica to Guns N' Roses to Poison, Motley Crue, that kind of stuff. A little bit of country. My wife and I love to dance, and so I'll take her out country dancing too. So a lot of the country that leans more towards the rockin' side of country versus the pop crap that's out there right now. If there's an electric guitar and there's a little bit of distortion going on, you're probably going to get my attention from the country side of things.
Man, you really are a catch. You're funny. You play music. You can dance. I mean, gosh, man, I don't know if I want to continue this interview. The more and more I talk to your doctor, the more and more I just feel like, man, I'm such a piece of garbage.
Let me add one more. I played the tuba in a symphony that toured Europe when I was in high school. How about that?
Well, I quit. I quit entertainment. This is my last show. Thanks a lot. Man, that's awesome. Musically, I would love to see your playlist and compare it with mine. I always thought that mine was a serial killer's playlist because I do there are two things that I can brag about in life. One is I'm a connoisseur of Saved by the Bell knowledge. So I always wanted to be on Beat the Geek, and I thought I would just shred everybody on Saved by the Bell. And then my other one is my severe love of music, like it's my entire life. So like like my one of my favorite bands is the Carpenters, which is really strange, and all this other, but I like everything. Like I know it's so cliche, but I like all genres of music. I pick something out of every single one and love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll bet yours is that way too.
Yeah, I was in the gym earlier and it went from literally from like Taylor Swift to Nelly to Guns N' Roses to Godsmack. And it was like,
absolutely,
where the hell are you at in life?
Those are the type of radio stations I always wish would really existed. I thought they would just destroy. I know it's a programming nightmare for a radio station, but man, how cool would that be to have it be Satan's jukebox, of everything. But we never get that, So someday someone will either sober up or, well, really, you can listen to all music for free. Like I have albums out, and it's like we're not making a killing on streaming. You know what I mean? Like we're not making it big.
Yeah, 0.00001 cent per stream.
Exactly. Yeah. And grandma bought my album on Apple or something. And so it's like that.
Thanks, grandma.
Thanks, grandma. Instead of giving me $10, and a birthday card, she paid for my album or something,
Yeah. She paid 10, but you got $6.50 out of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. And then I had to pay for the service to put it out. So really I was in the hole by the time the 10 was over with. So, oh well, we do it because we love it, right?
That's right.
So who are your favorite comedians growing up? I mean, who really made an impact on you?
So again, I didn't grow up wanting to be a comedian. So the comedians that I saw growing up, I hate to say this one, but Bill Cosby, if you're old enough to know the special that he did where he sat on a folding chair in a brown plaid suit with a microphone and entertained a crowd for 2 hours.
Right.
I get he's a piece of shit. I'm never going to defend anything that piece of shit did.
Yeah.
But his comedy in that special, it was family friendly. It was suggestive at times, but it was funny. And he connected with every single person in the audience. So that's one of my earliest memories of watching comedy on TV. And then you go in and you get like, when I was a teenager and you'd sneak downstairs and turn on Andrew Dice Clay or right. Sam Kinison or George Carlin, guys that your 13-year-old kid shouldn't be watching.
Yeah.
I like those guys a lot too. But currently, we talked off air a little bit. Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, hands down the number one and number two funniest comedians that are out there touring right now.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody close. You can be fans of Chris Rock or any of these other guys, but no one is doing what Bert Kreischer's doing on tour. Nobody. Right.
Well, I mean, it's funny you say the Bill Cosby stuff because I probably have every Bill Cosby record that he ever put out. And the reason I have them is because of what happened. So I can go to any thrift store and I can see all of Bill Cosby's work. And I can remember listening to it as a kid on record, but it's like, man, I know he's a piece of garbage for what he did, but damn, he was funny. You know what I mean? And a family friendly, funny guy, like so hard to come by. So good.
There's still phrases that I use with my own children that are from that original special that he did. And I made my kids watch it without them really knowing who he was and what a piece of garbage he was. But they're like, that's where you got that? That's where you got that joke? Is this old dude on TV? Like,
right.
Yeah, that joke is older than your father. Yes.
Well, you said you're older than me. You're not that much older than me. I mean, I'm 41. I was born in 82. So we're still pretty close. And I feel like I look like I'm 60 or I feel like I'm 60, which is why I should probably come to you. But, there were a lot of great comedians growing up. Sinbad was a great, clean comedian too. And I don't think people give him a lot of credit. I personally enjoyed watching Gallagher smash those watermelons and tell his jokes because he was hilarious, man. I thought.
And he's another one that was clean, but yet could be suggestive. So you got the humor out of him. Jeff Dunham is really good at that.
Yeah,
Whether you like ventriloquism or not, you could take your 12-year-old child to his show and they would laugh and find things purely funny. But he would slip in these little bits that you only understood if you were 30 and up.
right.
And I love that. That's a special talent. There are very few people that can do that.
It's like sneaking adult humor into a Pixar film or something. You know what I mean?
Oh, hell yes.
Like that's there, but it's like a next level smart. I think. Like
Yeah.
the special where Gallagher was on a freaking trampoline the whole time. I mean, that kind of compares to the Cosby one where he's in the folding chair. I was just like, when I was watching this, I can remember the day I watched it because I was watching what was it? It was a Nightmare on Elm Street marathon, and then I was
Sure.
switching back and forth with my knob, to from this to that, and it was just like it was almost like I was breaking the monotony up of all like the terrifying stuff on. Which, don't get me wrong, Freddy's very funny. I mean, if you have a sense of humor in that realm, but it was a weird day. But I remember watching that particular special and just thinking, this is next level stuff. Like, even as a kid, like, this guy's on a trampoline, he's doing this, he's smashing watermelons. Like, he really won me over that day. It's wild, dude. And I mean, Robin Williams was another one of those people. Like, I feel like such an asshole. Like, when he died, I made a lot of jokes because, and this, not at his, I didn't mean at his expense, but like, people, when celebrities die, people always, like, I get it, like, they affected you, but like, some people take it to like a dramatic extreme, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not going to do anything for the next 2 weeks because this celebrity died. And I'm thinking, like, are you freaking serious? Like, did you know them personally? And when Robin Williams died, when I was on stage, I made some comments, like, that I wished I hadn't. But then, like, as I started to go back and listen to his actual comedy and stuff, like, not just Mrs. Doubtfire and all, I mean, this guy was something else. Like, not only was he an amazing actor, he could do any acting, but it's like, you can really see, when you go back, you can see the sadness in the guy. And maybe that's in I think a lot of comedians are sad clowns. I mean, I know, if I were a comedian, I'm telling you, I'm a sad clown too. I, like, when I was a kid, I used humor to get me through all of the the downfalls, the sadness, the being bullied for being a chubby kid.
Oh,
all
yeah.
that stuff.
We see those personalities, and you see those same traits that you saw, that you're pointing out in Robin Williams, in comedians, whether they're local or regional or national touring. You see that. And not just because I'm a physician and I'm trained to look for stuff like that. If you are in tune to the people and how they're acting, you see those personalities. You see the ones that are the light of the room when they walk in, and they're always on and always happy and always positive. And you see the ones that walk in and their heads down a little bit, and then they go on stage and it's a whole different personality, just opens up, and then they step off stage and it's back down again. So yeah, I've seen it. I definitely see it a lot.
I mean, that's how it was for me. I would, I was always told by my friends that I could be the life of the party. I could do all this stuff, but I didn't feel that way. Like, when I looked in the mirror, I went home. It was like, I hated the person I looked. So I would dump it by, I would think, I can't be funny, I can't be entertaining unless I get loaded. So I would drink too much. I would do drugs. I'd do all these crazy things. But it's like, when I really think of it, if I did a tape rewind of all the shows that I did, I'm sure they were horrible. I mean, like, I can only imagine as a lead singer of like, because I have a hard enough time remembering lyrics. That's another thing too I want to talk to you about as soon as I get off of this subject, is that I can't imagine having to remember all that stuff. Like, I used to hide cue cards on the floor, and I would write code, like 3-word codes, so that nobody would notice I was cheating. And but I mean, you got to think of it in music, it's 50 songs. Like, in a cover band, it's 50 songs a night. You got to get through at least 12 songs a set, and you have 4 sets. And then you're also doing the beer Olympics the whole time, and people want to drink with you because you're the band.
Absolutely.
And so,
no, so for me, and in the comedy industry, one of the very first promoters I worked with had a rule: no notes on stage.
Yeah.
And I took that to an extreme. Much like I do everything in life, I don't do anything half-assed. If I'm not going 110 miles an hour with my hair on fire, I'm probably not having a good time.
Right.
And so I took that little piece of advice, that little nugget, and I saw comedians with notes on stage. And it could be anything from a couple of 3-word things written on their back of their hand, or they try to put it on the backside of their cup, or
Right.
they bring their phone on stage so they have a timer, and really what it is their notes on there. and and I was kind of an ass to comedians when I started booking shows myself. I said no notes, period.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's, you know your material, and if you don't know your material, then you shouldn't be doing it live in front of an audience yet.
Right.
Um, and I perform anywhere from 5-minute opening sets and hosting duties to my longest time on stage was about 54 minutes, just
Right.
under an hour. And not one time did I have notes.
Yeah.
I don't believe in it. I don't like it. I find it distracting as an audience member. Again, remember, I'm watching as the everyman. I'm not watching as the art performer critiquer. I'm watching as the demographic who is between 25 and 60, who's married or has been married, has kids, has a full-time job. That's the demographic that I go after. They're not the artsy fartsy people who really care about the art and the performance and the theater. And no, I want the Monday through Friday Joe Blow buying a ticket, and
Yeah.
they don't want to see you doing this.
No, they don't want you reading. Yeah.
Hell no. So yeah, that's how I handle that.
It's the equivalent to musicians that have a music stand in front of them. Let's be honest, you're not reading the music, and it looks bush league, you know what I mean? It looks bad. That's why I would hide it everywhere. My thing is, like, I fought a lot as a kid. I was like I don't know, my brother beat the crap out of me, and so, you know, people would want to fight with me, and I did every violent sport in the book. And I loved it, but I mean, I swear I had many concussions, had my bell rung many times. I'm probably have CTE. So like I knew the song, like the material, like my mind is a spinning wheel. What I would just lose it. Like, so all of a sudden, and you know, because you played music, you'll be playing up there, everything's going good, everyone started at the right time. You get into the second verse. Oh crap, I don't quite remember the first line all of a sudden to Sweet Home Alabama that I've heard 500,000 times.
Yeah,
So
and
it's
so you
like
have
I
that
just needed
crutch, you have that reminder.
Yeah, that's all I needed was just that 1 to 2 3-word maximum cue to look at and go, oh yeah, that reels me back in, you know.
Sure.
It's tough. I just, when I hear about comedians talking about building an hour for their special, I can't even imagine being funny and getting up there and spilling your guts for an hour talking, because as a musician, you can hide behind the music. That's the thing, is you're hiding behind all of that. But as you got, you know, like you guys have to hide behind your wit and everything. People want you to be fast, unless you're one of those comedians that, like, you know, they have like the dry wit, you know, comedy, which those are funny too.
So me personally, if I had to say I was like somebody, it would be the 2 comedians I mentioned earlier. Bill Cosby is a storyteller.
Yeah.
Burt Kreischer, Tom Segura, they're storytellers.
Yeah.
So to me, writing comedy in a storytelling format where you take life experience, things that really happen to you, and then you embellish the details and you make it, you know, entertaining, and you put all that stuff together, that's easy to write.
Yeah.
I admit what I do is easier than the person who, say, opens up the computer and sees the headlines of the day and then goes through and tries to make jokes about each one of those things. That's way harder. Now, it's also way harder to be funny doing that. It's way harder to remember your set doing that. It's way harder to remember where you were, because everything I'd say on stage is rooted in truth. And whether people realize it or not, when I'm up there doing a whole hour, it's in a logical order to me. It may not be logical to anyone else, but I know where I'm at because I've been on stage holding my guitar and went, oh, and I don't even know what chord is next.
Yeah.
I don't know the first 3 words of the next chorus. Like, what? So I build my sets in a way that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And again, so it's I did it my way. I didn't do it everyone else's way.
Tell me about the process of bombing, because all comedians bomb. It sucks. It's the equivalent to being a musician. Nobody claps. Everyone thinks it. Like for me, the dumbest thing that ever happened to me on stage is what I tell people, and there's a lot of them, is I was playing my guitar early on it's before I used strap locks. I don't know if you use strap locks, but you should. Every musician who plays guitar should. But
Yes.
being the lead singer, I'm fumbling away at a song. We're having a good time, and the guitar falls straight off in front of me, down to the floor, bong. And all I could say, I just blankly looked up at everybody, and it says, apparently we're experiencing technical difficulties. And then, of course,
Now,
I had to go through all of that. It was pretty
having have
embarrassing.
it happen to me, I would laugh too. Like,
Yeah.
no, I got you, man.
I could see the hilarity in it, but it was so embarrassing. Like I
Oh,
literally
hell yeah.
wanted to pack my stuff up and leave, run out of there, maybe drown myself in the toilet, whatever I could to get out of there.
So bombing for a comedian, I've bombed. Not a lot. Thankfully, I've been lucky that way. But the one time that I can really say did not go well for me was I had done a huge show in Grand Island, and two people came up to me after the show. There was like 350 people in the audience. It was a great, great show.
Yeah.
They come up to me afterwards and they're like, "Hey, we want to hire you and this other comedian to do a set for our daughter's 21st birthday." And I'm like, "You just heard my set. 21-year-olds really aren't my demographic. That's not who I reach to." And they're like, "Yeah, but it's also going to be a whole bunch of aunts and uncles and, our friends. And you do hit that demographic." So I'm like, okay. So I interviewed her parents to find out some stuff about the 21-year.
Yeah.
And I wrote a short set about her. Now, her name was Ariel. She really was named after the Little Mermaid. So the jokes wrote themselves.
Yeah.
I talked about her dad being a weird pedophile because he had Little Mermaid sheets and, whatever. It worked. But as soon as I was done with that material, the 21-year-old went to the bathroom and started puking her guts out.
Oh no.
So all of her friends left.
Yeah.
I start moving on to my regular material, and all of the parents and aunts and uncles were pissed that the girl was sick.
Yeah.
And they just sat there with their arms crossed like this for the next half an hour.
Oh no.
And it's such a helpless feeling because you're like, okay, well, those jokes didn't hit. And in your mind, you have this Rolodex, like, this is the order I was going to do it in. And that's the way I write my sets, is I know when I go up on stage what I'm doing in what order and how long it's going to take. So I'm trying to like flip the Rolodex and go, okay, well, try this joke. And I go into that spiel, and it wasn't hitting. So I kind of wrapped it up maybe 5-6 minutes early. And the next comedian went up, and he tried to do this improv thing with his guitar. He walked around the crowd and would be like, "And what's your name?" And the person would be like, "No."
No thanks.
What the hell? So then he'd move on to somebody else at the table. "Well, what do you do for a living?" And he's strumming his guitar and like an open A chord, just praying that someone is going to say something that he can build a joke off of. And they're like, "No."
Oh, no.
I mean, that show was the worst show I've ever been a part of. I don't even want to say the other comic's name because I like him. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
But he was ready to crawl under a rock when he got done. And I'm sitting there sweating, going, I thought I had the worst day ever. And then he did that. And I was like, all right, I don't feel so bad about myself now.
You think he went outside and smashed his guitar into a tree and just screamed for an hour?
Well, we rode home together, so he just got stoned out of his gourd.
Yeah. So he mellowed out eventually. Man,
Yeah.
that we all have our horror stories. I mean, a lot of comics like watching other comics bomb, which I could see that too in a way, because it's kind of fun, but I don't know. I mean,
I don't like it at all. When I see a comic bombing,
right?
it hurts my heart, man.
Yeah.
I feel for him because I know that their butt crack is sweating. I know that it is dripping down to their toenails, and they're like, please, someone get the crook and yank me off this stage. So I hurt for him. I'm not a real touchy-feely guy that is in touch with his feelings all the time. But when you're up on stage and you need to be pulled off of it because someone needs to save you from the torture you're going through, it hurts me.
Man, I'm fully loaded. I don't think that there was anyone who fell off too far. I mean, there were a couple that the girls next to us really didn't seem to enjoy. So this is what I don't like about going to any show, comedy show. There's always somebody who goes there, like they drag their wife, their girlfriend. They don't want to be there anyway, but they can't handle the adult jokes. So the chick next to us was so horrified about the stuff they were talking about, and she kept, oh, and like making like it was ruining it for my wife, and I wanted to like reach over and throw my beer at her or something. It was so like, what, we're adults, like you're at a comedy show. What do you think they're gonna say? I don't get people.
No, and I haven't had that too much at any of the shows that I've been a part of or produced. I have friends in the business that have had people walk up on stage and yell at them, and
Yeah.
I've had people leave, or not. I haven't, but I've had friends who have said people in the audience have left during a show.
Right.
I've been at shows where people have got up and left, and I'm like, that again, that just hurts me watching them struggle. And when they're doing these smaller shows and say there's only 20, 30 people in there and two people get up and leave, that comic sees it.
Yeah.
And they see that as a total failure. They're, even though 28 people stayed, the two that left, that's going to ruin them for the night.
Right. No, I definitely get that. The special that we watched not too long ago, the last Chris Rock special, I will say I didn't like it because I felt like all we were doing was waiting for him to talk about the slap with Will. He was brilliant by doing it at the end because that's what everyone's watching.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I like Chris Rock, and I'm not crapping on his art. I thought he did it was still funny at times, but it was definitely not, to me, not his best work. And my wife and I listen to or watch a lot of specials on Netflix and all of that. I don't know. It was some of the political stuff he had to say. I just couldn't. I get tuned out of that real quick unless they're funny about it.
Yeah. And so when I hire comedians, if you have a platform, and I don't care what your platform is, if you have a platform, something that you're so passionate about that it is ingrained in every fiber of your being and every part of your set,
Right.
I'm not hiring you.
Yeah.
Again, because I look at it from the everyman perspective. And the everyman perspective is not going to enjoy your view on whether you love or hate Biden.
Yeah.
Now, if you make a joke here or there and then move the hell on, whether you love him or hate him and you make the joke, I don't care.
Yeah.
But make the joke and move on. And when you hit on it over and over and over, you're going to alienate 50% of your crowd because 50% are there to watch and appreciate that humor and 50% hate it. Why do that to yourself? That doesn't make sense to me.
It was more of a political commentary of what and I don't care. I've never cared about the politics. I mean, I care about politics, but I don't care about your politics or this and that. I don't care to argue about it. So I can listen to someone talk about, if I say I voted for Biden, I can listen to them shred the guy. The guy's hilarious. I mean, I'm convinced now that it's either an actor with a Biden mask or it's a robot with a Biden mask, but it's always a mask of some sort. That's
that robot is not performing well.
No, it's like it's like a what's my comparison? It's like AOL online, you know what I mean? Like it's like one of those type of robots. It's still stuck in the early.
It's still dialing up to connect.
Yeah, boop, boop. That's crazy, man. Well, I promised myself I wasn't going to tell you the only joke that I felt like that I would do if I was on stage, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm okay if you roast me for it. All right.
All right. Let her rip.
Right. I want to, because I find you funny. Now, I'm not going to deliver it in a joke form. I'm just going to tell you the synopsis and you can just say, yeah, you should probably stick to whatever career you have. So my only joke that I ever thought of was when back in the early days of Jared at Subway. Okay. Now, when Jared came out, it was always about how much weight he lost and all this stuff. Well, as a fat kid in high school, okay, I also liked Subway and I liked a lot of Subway. So I would go there every day and but it started to be like a thing. Like every time I would order a sandwich there, I would try to get something like, even though I'd order a lot, I would order 2 sandwiches, but they'd always be like skinny people sandwiches, like a veggie sandwich or something. But there'd always be some dickhead who would say, oh, we got another one on the Subway diet over here. And it's like, to me, Jared ruined it for fat people everywhere, and not ignore the fact that he, I don't know, he watched kid porn or rape kids or whatever, which is horrible enough as it is. He deserves to be where he is. But I want to beat Jared's ass for ruining it for fat people everywhere, that we couldn't go to Subway and still can't to this day without someone thinking that we're on a diet, like without getting like 5 meatball sandwiches. So if I told that story, and it's okay to tell me, do you think it's a toss it out the door, or do you think I got a bright future?
I think it's got potential. I think with the right the correct writer,
Yeah,
I think you
wrong
can
writer
take
by
that
hand.
story and make it go.
Yeah, if I had you, if I had you to deliver it, it would be better. But my crazy mind spins it, and I'm not great at the delivery. So well, I appreciate you listening to my one joke and not completely hating it. But I've always thought to myself, if I got up there, I would just roast Jared the whole time, not for being a pedophile, but because he ruined it for fat people everywhere.
See, I have no problem with that.
All right. I'm so sorry I put you through that, man, but I felt like, you know what, I'll take my shot. You seem like a connoisseur of comedy and everything else. Do I have a shot at it? So what you're saying is maybe I could be like a ghostwriter for somebody and just feed them dumb material and then they can go from there, right?
Well, yeah, you do it the reverse way. Usually we take material, or a comic takes material, gives it to a ghostwriter, and they turn it into something really good.
Yeah.
You just take your crappy idea, give it to a comic,
Yeah.
and make him make it better. All right.
That's what it really is. It's just a crappy idea. So, I know we don't have a lot of time left. I really do appreciate you being on the show, but I do want to give you the format here to do some promotion on what do you want to promote, man? What are you on? What are you doing? What's coming up?
So I did 30 or 40 shows last year, which for a guy that has a full-time job and all that stuff, that's anywhere three, 4 shows a month, that kind of thing. I took the last month off mainly just to relax for a minute, watch my kids play sports, enjoy a little bit of summertime. And now I'm ramping back up. Now it's fall season. Now it's time to get on it. So actually, the next show I have coming up is October 1st, back at the Bourbon Theater.
Mhm.
This is the first time I'm performing at the Bourbon Theater, and I'm not the headliner.
Yeah.
I hold the distinction as the only local comic to ever sell out the Bourbon Theater, and I've
Yeah.
done it twice.
Wow.
I also hold the record for the most alcohol sales during a comedy show, and I don't know if that's because the comedy was that bad or just that's an indication of my friends know how to freaking drink. So,
I don't think it's that you're bad by any means.
um, so I'm actually opening for a national touring comedian that I worked with way back when I was really young in my career. His name is Jeff Leeson. He's a crowd work guy where he talks to people in the crowd and makes jokes from that. He's from Canada. He tours 7 days a week across the country. He's the real deal, and one of the few people that I enjoy that does crowd work for
Right.
like Matt Rife style.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm opening for him October 1st at the Bourbon Theater. Then I'm out in North Platte with national touring comedian Mo Alexander. Um, Dude is from the deep south somewhere and keeps possums as pets. I mean, his life story is just as weird as can possibly be.
Yeah.
But he's a really funny guy. I've done some shows with him in the past, and so I'm taking him back out to North Platte. Um, the biggest show, the granddaddy of them all, I just did. I headlined the Icebox Arena where the Lincoln Stars play hockey. I did that in July, and that show was a success. It wasn't as big as I wanted it to be, but it was still the biggest show that I'd ever done. I
Right.
just, like I told you earlier, if I'm not going 100 miles an hour with my hair on fire, I'm not happy. So, was it a big show? Yes. Was it a success? Yes. Were they happy with it? All those things, of course. But I wanted 1,500 butts in the seats, not 500. You
Yeah.
know. So my next big show is January 27th.
Okay.
I'm at the CHI Convention Center in Omaha.
Wow.
I'm headlining it. And we're at the convention center, the second floor. Now we're not the arena. I'm not there yet,
Still. Yeah.
but it's set up for 2,400 seats. And we are estimating right now 1,500 to 2,000 people being there. So it'll definitely be my biggest show ever.
Awesome.
If you're on my Facebook page, I'll be posting that flyer out soon. But that one's going to be a lot of fun, and I'll bring in other comedians that I work with on a regular basis, as well as some national comedians as well. It'll be just short of 2 hours, all said and done, by the time the show's over. So I'm pretty pumped about that one. That one's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I have a documentary being made about me. Some guys approached me in Omaha. They're called Block 22 Productions.
Mhm.
And I guess it's not about me necessarily. They approached me with this idea that they just wanted to do one one episode of what it's like to be a comedian in the Midwest. And as they started coming to all my shows and filming all the comedians that I work with and the crowds that were showing up for my shows versus the little tiny local shows, it turned into 8 or 10 segments where I'm kind of one of the key features in it. So that documentary is starting to come out. It's called Comedians. I'm hoping it's out in the next month or so, honestly.
Yeah.
And then I've got shows in New Orleans,
Man.
Rapid City, Las Vegas. I'm in Iowa a couple times. So yeah, things are going well.
You can call it a world tour, man. If I can call my band a world tour, just play in Nebraska and surrounding areas, then I'll be damned if you can't call it a world tour, man. That's awesome.
I'll stick with national tour. All right. I haven't done a joke. I'm going to the Bahamas though in November with my family. So if I tell a joke in the Bahamas, can I be like a world?
Oh, of course I
touring
can. That's what
comedian?
you have to do. That's the clause. Just tell a joke while you're there, and you've officially accomplished it.
You have set the bar right there. I'm on a cruise ship. And as soon as I get into international waters, I'm storming the stage
Oh yeah.
during the comedy show, and I'm doing a joke. That's all there is
There it
to it.
is. And then you've accomplished all your wildest dreams in that one.
International touring comedian right there.
Absolutely. Ben, I really hope that my wife and I can come see you at one of these shows, be it the one here or the one in Omaha. That'd be really cool, man.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, October 1st at the Bourbon Theater. Tickets are online on the Bourbon Theater for that one, and then the CHI in January. That one, tickets will be online here in the next week or two for that one.
Awesome, man. Well, you've got a lot going on, and I'm blessed to have a guy like you come on my show. Shout out to the people that are making your documentary. If they want to do a podcasters from the Midwest, I'm here. I'm ready for you to take me on.
Deal, man.
Deal, man. Well, thank you so much, man. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but it's been a privilege and a pleasure, and I hope that we can talk again sometime.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Thank you.